So grateful to be here and very happy to discuss these incredibly important and hard to talk about topics. He has an incredible backbone and staggering moral fiber. Howie is totally committed, completely ethical, totally admirable. No pressure if you can hear this, but honestly, Howie's a hero to me.
John, you joined us before, and it was a pretty incredible kind of testimony you gave, and you just devoted your life to advocacy for child trafficking, and even 9/11 truth. Maybe you could explain to us, in the last decade, what do you think the most challenging parts of coming alive on some of these issues have been?
Probably the hardest thing, and it continues, is just realizing that pretty much everything that I was told and taught since I was in grade school is probably not true.
Stand by. Are the hairs on the back of your neck standing up, Howie?
Nah, because I just started it like 5 minutes ago.
Oh, you're giving away all our secrets.
I know.
How are you? Good evening.
Doing well. How are you?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Every day above ground is a good day.
Why don't you tell everybody what that was for those who don't know?
That was, for the uninitiated, that was the introduction to the Hour of the Time. We will be dropping the link to the website that contains many, many, many introductions and shows of William Cooper, who I think was probably a forerunner of the only one I can think of that has done anything like the work that George Webb has, and much, much more. Because Bill was also a historian. And William Cooper, and I know you know this because we just talked about it, he was the one who came on, and this was the year he was to be murdered, after CNN showed the Osama bin Laden interview, and said to his listeners, if you think CNN can find this guy that the CIA has been looking for, I don't know, 10 years, and walk into his cave and film an interview, something big is about to happen. There's the cuckoo clock.
Wait for it.
It's midnight. And Bill said something big is about to happen. And that was about a month or two before 9/11. And boy, was he correct. And the heat on Bill got turned up something fierce after that until a sheriff's, basically a SWAT team, stormed his house to serve a warrant that should have been served by federal marshals, which was kind of odd, having to do with some trumped up tax charge, and Bill was killed. So
what was it? What was one of his first terrorist attacks? The USS Cole, was it, John? That Osama bin Laden.
Oh yeah,
I think
Cole. I'm
pretty sure it's Cole. That was in 1990.
Yeah, Clinton let a bunch of cruise missiles fly that were supposedly directed against him in the early '90s in Somalia. I think they did I think the Black Hawk Down episode was something to do with trying to get this guy, that was so mysterious.
They had him trapped in Tora Bora.
yeah, that was after 9/11. But that was before 9/11.
No,
sorry, Howie. Sorry, Howie. I'm a 9/11 freak, so I do.
All right.
Yeah, the U.S. Special Forces and the football player. Oh God, what was his name? That
Pat.
Yeah. Oh man, my mind is a terrible thing. But he played.
Right, go ahead. I'll grab it real quick.
Yeah, he played for the Arizona Cardinals, and after 9/11 volunteered, and he was in the Rangers, and his group had bin Laden surrounded and were told to stand down. And
Pat Sullivan.
Yes, and he was mysteriously killed, and I think he had a pretty big problem with that order.
I thought they had him. I thought they had him trapped before 9/11, and they let him because he kept escaping. But the point being that a CNN cameraman and reporter walked into bin Laden's hideout, cave, whatever, a few months before 9/11, when the U.S. was still everybody was supposedly looking for him, and Bill Cooper, caught wind of this and basically was like, something is up here. How does CNN find this guy, in the middle of Afghanistan?
Yeah.
And there's video of it right on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
More fake news.
Yeah. Tonight, a family of rats, and those are some of the rats that we're going to be talking about in rat lines, and this has been going on since World War II. And we're going to do some current stuff first, but we're going to get into rat lines. If you didn't know what a rat line was, it's rigging for a ship, but that's not the one we're going to be talking about. And we'll talk about a little bit of history and how they're operating today, and how they are the infrastructure for child trafficking, drug trafficking, and they've these people, these things that run our world, because I can't even call them animals anymore. They found out that organ trafficking, there's big money in that. So those are the three financial items that are passed through these rat lines, and it's the infrastructure of doom, and it's upon us. And hopefully, if this corruption comes down with things that are going on right now, that's the only way these are going to come down. The entire government needs to come down. Is the and not the Constitution, not the institution of Congress and the House of Representatives and the Senate, but all the corrupt members of those institutions need to be purged, and we need to start over, or a big reset button, if you will. So that's where we're going. And where you were going to start, Howie, with?
Well, it's the thing from Joseph Goebbels from the Nazis, basically saying that you accuse your opponent of that which you are guilty. And I just feel as though it's never been more. They're using that every day. I was James Clapper was on CNN, basically saying that the White House is becoming Orwellian, and this is coming from a man. This is coming from a man who sat in front of Congress and said that the NSA is not recording, personal phone calls and not collecting that data, lying, and he can still go out and start accusing, accusing Donald Trump, of everything. I mean, now they're accusing. I mean, now they're throwing. Well, I guess it started when today. I didn't even pay attention too much because it's so friggin' ridiculous that somehow something linking Trump and Seth Rich.
Yeah, yeah. They're more diversion. You know, the A1 brothers story is shaking the tree, and they're using anything and everything to divert from that. And I think they've even sucked Cy Hirsch into this mess by releasing a surreptitiously recorded portion of, he was talking to somebody, and without his knowledge they taped him, and it sound but you know, he does say in there that the Russia thing is bullshit, you know, which is good, but he's got some opinions about Seth Rich that may or may not be correct. He has sources just like George Webb has sources, and you know, the timing is very suspicious as the A1 brothers, and which is let's be clear here. If the A1, whatever you want to call them, brothers scandal is properly prosecuted, it would be bigger than the Rosenberg nuclear secrets trial in the 50s. It would be the largest espionage ring that ever operated in the United States, with the collusion of members of Congress, namely Debbie Wasserman Schultz and her buddy Hillary Clinton, and the rats, the family of rats that make these rat lines operate and possible. So, yeah. Nobody wants to talk about the A1 brothers. Nobody.
Well, it was encouraging today because once again on C-SPAN, a caller called in, and you know, it's not a topic on C-SPAN, but a caller called in and brought it up, and there was a professor on from George Washington University, and he went on and actually elaborated upon it. So you know, I have the clip, and I'm gonna post it. I'm waiting for it to download. But, you know, I mean, listen, everybody knows. And the hashtag is going strong. And I think, you know, whether it's, you know, A1 Brothers or Imran Awan, you know, it has, you know, just like Seth Rich, you know, even though we're talking about, you know, child sex abuse and child sex trafficking, you know, these types of stories are going to open up the doors, you know, to get us through. To the bigger stuff, because we can prove the politicians are lying, we can prove the media is lying, and then once we have them caught in lies, then it's like, okay, now what else are you lying about? Oh, you're lying about child rape.
Yeah, absolutely, and the worst possible evil that could exist on the face of the earth. Yeah, we're allowing that to operate, and some of us are participating in it, and we're seeing that come forward with the Deputy Attorney General of California caught with child rape images. You know, some 13-year-old girl that's restrained. You know, and believe me, I've done enough investigation to know if this asshole has those images, he is offending. Okay. And I would say 90% of these, you know, they want to say, oh, it's just kiddie porn and we'll arrest them. And no, the people that possess those images are offenders. And we're going to find that out too. And a lot of them are parts of this network. And as you pointed out as we were talking earlier, Dr. Nasser, his child porn collection included live videos of his rape. Does that make my point?
He was there. I mean, I'm here. It makes your point very well. Okay. I'm just listening.
Okay.
I was actually checking something out. You know, when we were talking about Raymond Joseph Liddy, the deputy.
Yes, Mr. Liddy.
I didn't realize he was the son of Gordon Liddy.
Oh, no. Is that true? I mean, you know, I thought that when I heard the name, but that couldn't. And a sick fuck, excuse me, I'll try not to curse anymore tonight.
All right, man.
Yeah, right. But Gordon Liddy is, you know, that guy was one of the sickest people that ever lived. You know, somebody who would burn his hand, you know, with a lighter. And what he said to the guy is, the trick is what did he say? The trick is, oh God, not caring that it hurts or something. I mean, that guy was CIA to the core and FBI, and just a very sick individual. And
you know more about him than I do. Because you're a little bit older.
Yeah, a little bit.
Can you give background on G. Gordon?
Oh, G. Gordon, he was an FBI agent, and he got into black ops with the CIA. He was one of the Watergate burglars, and nobody knows this. I mean, it's so, the beginning of the show, you hear me say every show, everything I was taught was bullshit, and it is. And what you were taught about Watergate is also bullshit. And I'm gonna have Jim Rothstein on this air, and hopefully on video, telling you what Watergate was really about. And what Watergate was really about, they were trying to get a black book that the Democrats had obtained that had Republican names in it that were frequenting these mostly homosexual pedophile brothels. And another good book about that is the Confessions of a D.C. Madam. He came along later, but this has been going on in Washington for years and years and years, and that's why they were breaking in. And most of these organizations, they're really not that sharp. And I really think that they and you'll see one side like what's happening now. One side of the deep state's playing the other. And I think they were played, that's what they were told their mission was, but they were played to get caught, and to take down Nixon, because Nixon was doing some things that the deep state wasn't really crazy about too. And boy, they did a heck of a job. And the thing is, Watergate, Bob Woodward and Bernstein, blah blah blah. These two guys are totally co-opted now. The great Woodward and Bernstein. Not only did they have the story wrong, because they didn't, they probably knew that the pedophile blackmail was going on in D.C. They had to know. They were reporters. That they were really shitty reporters. And now that this has all come out. But Bob Woodward does books about presidents now. He's not, down in the trenches with and there are very few journalists that are in the trenches, doing real investigative reporting. But they got the story wrong. They were there to get that black book that had top Republican names in it as frequenting these pedophile brothels. So.
I don't know if Bob Woodward is still on CNN, but I've seen him lie. I mean, he's the biggest shill. I don't know if they still use him, but he would come on and he was just absolutely disgusting. And I'm like, this is the guy. I'm like, this is the guy that broke Watergate. I'm not seeing. Not seeing.
And got it wrong. I never, I read a lot about Watergate, but I never. Until I talked to Jim Rothstein, and one of his best friends, who was probably killed by the CIA, who was very up on this and was an honest Metro DC detective, had all the information on that. And apparently that they didn't want him walking around. I don't see how Jim survived all these years, other than just being blessed and just being one of the best persons I've ever met or spoke with. He's a national treasure. But that's how I found that out. And
since we're talking about Watergate and we talked about Nazis a little bit, there's a documentary called JFK to 9/11. Everything is a rich man's trick. It's a 3.5 hour, almost a 4 hour documentary. It is an absolute must watch. Unfortunately, you have to watch it several times to get all the information, because it's very, very complicated. But it's literally a almost 4 hour history lesson that will absolutely blow your mind, and I can't recommend it enough. So.
Absolutely, I've seen it and I've watched it several times, and I'd watch it again. So definitely, JFK to 9/11. Everything's a rich man's trick, and on that's a great segue. Thank you, Howie. You're good at those. I'll give you a little history on the rat lines, and you're going to be really surprised as to who came up with this and who was involved. What they were and what they developed as was a way to get Nazis out of Nazi Germany and into this country. The operation was ultimately called Operation Paperclip, and brought guys like Werner von Braun, our famous, rocketeer into this country, along with many, many other scientists and all sorts of bureaucrats and just really evil people that were doing really screwed up things in Nazi Germany. But, as we've discussed and found out, that the story of World War II or even World War I is not what you were taught in high school, okay? How many people know that Prescott Bush was financing Hitler? I don't think many people do. So you can see, and go research it for yourself. Google Prescott Bush or DuckDuckGo Prescott Bush and Hitler, and you'll get a lot to read about. He was charged. He weaseled out of it because the Congress was corrupt, but he was charged with trading with the enemy. So they were financing the war. Hitler was their puppet. Their goal was, again, control. They wanted to establish Israel, and they claimed to be Zionist Jews, and they're actual Luciferians who worship Satan, and they sacrificed. And the number is 6 million that we have, and maybe it was 20 million Russians were killed in that war, probably 40-50 million people, and people forget these elites and the ones that control where wars happen. Their agenda is to remove as many people from the face of the earth as they can, and they're still doing it today through our food, vaccines, big pharma. So getting back to the rat lines, they knew that they had promised, a lot of people in Nazi Germany and worked with them. And if they were to get arrested and get brought before like the Nuremberg tribunal, these guys were going to rat lines, the rats. So they managed to, and I'll be damned, the Catholic Church was just ready to help out, do anything that they could, just as they are today, just to, end child trafficking, make it a better world. And while not prosecuting pedophile priests, and their number 3 is under multi-indictment in Australia right now. That's another one of the bright spots. But yeah, the good old Catholic Church said, we'll get these guys out for you because we want to make this a better world. and they got these scumbags through Spain and then into South America and then eventually into the United States. And that's pretty much all the history. Another important thing that the rat line set up was called Operation Gladio, where we left behind agents that would control things like the CIA in Italy and up to Turkey nowadays. Gladio is still going on. And look up Sibel Edmonds' work. She's covered this beautifully about Operation Gladio. She wrote a book about it. But yeah, all these intelligence assets, and this was all thought up by British intelligence. They have been creating misery in the world since the 1500s, I think, maybe before. And they're the ones that trained our CIA. We were OSS at that time. They came up with the idea, and boy, we signed right on to it. And a lot of those people that were taken out of Nazi Germany are still in high-level positions in this country and their families. And another thing I'll direct you to, and it's right, when you go to replay our show on the YouTube, go to the Mae Brussel archive that's on UCY also. And she is an amazing woman. I think she's now passed away, but she did a show out of California where she had this just nailed. I mean, she knew the facts. She had supporting facts. She would, even back in the 60s and the 70s when she was doing the show, she would have all the newspaper articles, just everything right there that nailed down what the Nazis were doing, how the influence was here, how they were working with the Bushes, and how the CIA was setting up all these false flags. Jonestown was one of them. I mean, it's fascinating stuff. And hopefully our viewers will that's a great way to educate yourself if you want to know what's really going on in the world and not what you've been taught and not what you've been told. So that's Introduction to Ratline 101. Did I cover it?
You covered it. What about the National Security Act of 1947? It seems as though that really brought a lot of things together after after World War II, just as the Patriot Act, brought everything together, after 9/11, sort of made it okay to, do these covert operations and have all this secret stuff, so
very,
keep
very
everybody
important.
dark.
And they had to do that because MI6 and British intelligence, they were already established, but OSS was a relatively new thing, and it was a wartime organization. There was too many holes in it, so they had to make the group a little smaller, and that's how they formed the CIA, because most Americans, most of the servicemen that served, even the generals in World War II, and Patton namely one of them, who mysteriously died, wasn't going to go for any of this. So they had to transform the OSS into a different organization. That turned out to be the CIA. Allen Dulles and a few other people. One of the big admirals, Forrestal, that was not for any of this, didn't like the secrecy, didn't want to go with the plan. He flew out of the 20th floor window of Bethesda Naval Hospital. Supposedly he was in there on a psych hold, and mysteriously he flew out the window. And they've been operating ever since that act. That same act facilitated the assassination of President Kennedy.
Don't go after the secret societies. I mean, JFK's speech on secret societies, I mean, it's bone chilling, and sure, it's one of the many things that got him assassinated.
Yeah.
Obviously not by Oswald.
And we're up against the same. That is the deep state. That's where it came from. It has gotten. Then they started to get some technology, and we're not sure where they got it. It might have been from another planet, but we don't. I don't really go there. But they do have some, or it's either them. They took Tesla's work and created this technology to make us think that they got it from another planet. I mean, these little imps, they're up to everything. They want to trick us from every level, and usually they end up doing it. But at any rate, they got the technology, and then we have the black budget. And if you don't know, go on YouTube and search Catherine Fitts, Fitts. She was the Assistant Secretary of HUD, I believe, under Ronald Reagan. She was an honest American that looked into HUD. HUD was a front, like the Congressional Credit Union is a front for the Awan brothers, to perform mortgage fraud and to drain money from the U.S. Treasury that the taxpayers put in there, and Social Security and payroll taxes and stuff like that. So HUD was just a clearinghouse for money laundering, basically. So she ran that, and when 2011 happened, and I'm going to tell you something that's very, very devastating too, that she points out that I didn't even realize. But at any rate, she traced that $2.3 trillion that Rumsfeld had the temerity to even bring to the forefront, and it ended up being $43 trillion up to date, and probably more now, that has been siphoned off the United States Treasury. And that's why we can't have health care. That's why our infrastructure is failing. That's why we have to create wars in every part of the world to keep this outdated, useless machine going. That's why, all for the benefit of a few rich families, a rich man's trick, if you will. And Catherine Fitts lays it out beautifully, and every American should know that and know what you're dealing with, because I feel for Donald Trump. I really believe he is trying. He's against this almost an irresistible force, and he's trying to do the right thing. And I hope he's able to. And I think if this Awan brothers story breaks open, he might be able to have pulled it off. And just alone, and I said this, I'm not, personally, it doesn't matter what I personally think of Donald Trump, okay, because he's the president of the United States, regardless. But one thing I know, and I've said this, and I would stand by this statement, that if the only thing that comes out of his presidency is the child trafficking gets stopped, that's enough for me. I don't really care what else he does, and if that happens, the whole system will change. I learned that hard lesson trying to expose 9/11. That until we deal with child trafficking and bring that down, this corruption isn't going anywhere, Howie, and you know that just as well as I do.
Oh no, it's not going anywhere. I got a little distracted. Something came across my Twitter feed that and I haven't liked the guy in a real. When I first started watching Charlie Rose on PBS, I thought he was okay. Any interesting interviews, but as time goes on and you start looking at things, in a different light, he really strikes me as off. Then joining the CBS morning show, but somebody noticed that his the amount of people he's following on Twitter is 666, and it hasn't changed in weeks. And I just went on his feed, and he's not the first person that I've noticed that is following exactly 666 people. I'm not sure what the. I'm not sure what
these assholes love this, Howie, and they're all Satanists.
Right. I mean, even
we're afraid to say that, somebody might think we're conspiracy theories.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, even if you were following 666 people, don't you think you might notice that and say, yeah, you know what? Let me change this real quick.
Right.
That just came across, and that was unplanned, but. Things happen in real time, and I can assure you that is not a coincidence.
Yeah. And to me, one coincidence, okay, that's a sure thing. But if you got more than one, it's.
Oh, I've seen it. Nothing off the top of my head, but I've seen people. Things that I was just kind of like bouncing around. I'd go to her page and be like, "Yeah, I've seen more than one person following 666." people. I'm not into the numerology so much, but I know what 666 means, and somebody may want to point that out to Mr. Rose.
Yeah, and these assholes, they love to throw that shit in your face because they believe that the American public is too stupid to educate. And we started the show with Hour of the Time, and go to that website, and I'm going to post it here, and invest. It's about 23 hours of your life, and it's a series that William Cooper did called Mystery Babylon, and it explains not only the origin, but everything about the religion that these psychopaths practice. And it's the most illuminating thing in the world. If you scratch your head and wonder how they can be capable of the things that they do, after you understand what their religion is about, it's basically they're Luciferian Satanists that sacrifice children. Then you'll understand what you're dealing with, and you better understand what you're dealing with, because this is serious as a heart attack, all of it. And many people are not around, Bill Cooper, namingly, that have tried to get this information to a public that would rather watch the football game, And it won't change. People like him. People like us, people like her that are on our Twitter feed, they are not going to stop until either we're gone or they're gone. And they know that. So let me just post the Hour of the Time and a couple of shout outs. Butterfly is there tonight. Holly is there. Tweet us your questions if you have any. Thank you for supporting the show. Shay, V, another, I won't mention her handle because I haven't asked her, but there was a woman that we were interacting with today that's obviously been a victim of this corruption and the CIA mind control and child protective services. That's an arm of the child trafficking networks, So also, I want to talk just 1 second. We've started a crowdsource page off of our Facebook page, which is the Traffic Report Radio Show. This is the Traffic Report Radio Show. Thank you. Somebody's live on Periscope. It's the Traffic Report crowdsource page. And anybody that has information, story ideas, if you want to be on the show, whatever you want, you can always reach us on Twitter, Pizzagate Howie 2, PG Howie 2, Fireman John 628. DM us if you have any information, because what we're trying to do is follow George Webb's lead and crowdsource this problem. And there's people out there with information. There's people out here that can bring this down, and we want to give them a forum where even anonymously they can contribute, and we can become not just two guys, researching this every week. And we're not. We're already the people like V and Butterfly and Shay and others, Kathy McHale, feed us information all the time. And probably we wouldn't have the information that we have for these shows without them. So we want to organize this. We want to get it going and continuing and getting bigger. And there's Larry Reed too. I just wanted to shout out to him. He was telling me today on Facebook. He's a new member of the Crowdsource page about his personal experience in Iowa, of all places, and how a satanic pedophile network went after his two, I believe it was granddaughters, or it might have been daughters, because my memory is just so shot. But his family. And it really doesn't matter if it was a granddaughter or a daughter. I mean, and they were able to get those kids away from that and protect them. And we started talking about how Nebraska and the Franklin scandal is a hub for this activity, Offutt Air Force Base in DynCorp. And I'm not sure we might have time to go over old DynCorp a little bit tonight. And this is part one. So we're going to be covering the family of rats, and it's all, rats are too good for these people, but I couldn't think of another word. And all the people that are involved in this.
What were you saying about the gentleman in Nebraska?
Yeah, well, he's in Iowa, and
okay.
His family,
small town pedophile ring.
Well, it wasn't no small town ring. It was
well,
probably
small town, but the entire town was in on it, type of. Okay. I've heard these stories.
Yeah, probably not the entire town, but members of it, and probably influential members, because most of them are usually.
Sure. But people from all, whether it's police, the judges, the politics, you just have your key people. There was a mayor. There was a mayor in a small town. I tweeted out of Randolph, Nebraska, is accused of sexually assaulting a child. So I don't know how big of a town that Randolph is, but these. I tweeted there was a police officer this week that was arrested. There was I don't know if I think it was a pastor down in Texas that was arrested. I mean, it's just the same things over and over and over again. And when a mayor of a town is sexually assaulting a child, don't you think that somebody else knows about it? It's a little difficult for the mayor of a town to be sexually assaulting a child when the rest of the town, and especially in a small town, I mean, he's the friggin' mayor. It's like Jerry Sandusky. When Jerry Sandusky was in State College, everybody had to know about it. Where's Jerry Sandusky going to go with a kid that somebody isn't going to start putting one and one together?
Right. And these foundations. I mean, we're here to help poor children, and they were just clearinghouses for sexual abuse, and they put Sandusky away, and maybe that other guy's getting a few years. What about the people that witnessed all this shit? And the reason they don't go is they're part of these networks. They're the judge. They're the judge's brother, or the police chief's brother, or
because they never follow the stories. They're like this. Somehow this exists in a vacuum. I mean, we're talking about the mayor of a town. Obviously, if the mayor of a town is sexually abusing a child, at least one other person knows about it. It's impossible. It's absolutely impossible that somebody else wouldn't know about this.
Absolutely. And
where's he going to go? Where's he walking around with a kid that's not his?
Right.
And somebody's not going to see the mayor of the town.
Right. And these are the people I was talking to Judy Conway today, and she's going to come on. We've got a lot of great guests, and Jules has been out for a while, but she's back. She's doing her show again, and that's going to be our goal, either through recorded means or live on the show, to get some of these great guests on. But CPS again, Adrian, I'll never take that picture down. I mean, that kid probably was Traffic too, because those scumbags were making videos of him and selling them on the internet. So that qualifies for trafficking. But without that kid's story, I'm not sure I'd be doing this. And so that's why his picture's up. Judy Conway knows it's up. People have complained about the picture being up, but we did it with her permission. And he, to me, reminds me every day why I do this, why I delve into this stuff that I wish I could forget, and his death will not go forgotten or as a waste. And Judy wants to come on the show, and that's what she's doing. She's exposing the Child Protective Services, and it's the same in all states. The woman we were talking with today, that's on our Twitter feed, I think it's CPS in California that has they're an arm of the networks. Period. The stuff you found out in Pennsylvania, I mean, we just see that over and over again. So we can make that jump now.
I was going to say it's interesting because not that one story is more important or less important than the next, but it's interesting because I feel as though everybody has that one story that just really touches them a little bit more. Adrian for you, Grace Packer for me, and I think if everyone stops and everybody has that. When you read the stories and they're all the same and they're all horrific, but for whatever reason you just have that one, and there's some type of connection, with that child that you've never met, but everybody should have that because it makes you work just and fight just a little bit harder. And those days where I hear people saying sometimes, I need to take a step back, which is fine because it does wear on you. But when you feel like, you can't do it, or you're getting too much backlash from your friends or family or from the community, or people don't want to hear it. You just think of those. You just have that. You just have that image of your head of that child and how you could look them in the eye and say, you know what, I'm sorry, I couldn't. It was getting too difficult, so I had to stop. And. Yeah. We're not going to stop, and there's tens of thousands of us, but we need to become hundreds of thousands, and we need to become millions. In order. And I mean, it's the only way. It's too big, it's too strong, it's too deep, and there's strength in numbers. I mean, we obviously have the media against us. I mean, we look at something as obvious as Imran Awan getting arrested, a Pakistani national. We can't get it on the news, whether regardless. Okay, Seth Rich, it's a conspiracy. Imran Awan, it's a right wing, nut jobs talking. They just keep saying the same thing over and over and over again. So the only way it's until the people stand up, because they're the talk about resist. Yeah, we're the resistance. They're resisting reality. We're resisting child sex abuse, child trafficking, deep state, and obviously a bunch of rats.
Yeah, and I heard a great thing today, and the guy said, God, it might have been you, Howie. It's not about right and left. It's about right and wrong. I think
that was not
maybe George Webb said that today, and that's it. And
I'll take it though. If you want to attribute it to me, I'll take it.
Hey, you taught me all the news is fit to print. I was like, oh, who said that?
Democracy dies in the darkness.
Yeah.
It's almost dead.
Yeah, until the Washington Post shines a pen light with shitty batteries on it. So we're
speaking of Bob Woodward.
Democracy's fucked, and all these shit bags, and you can still see it. Webb has uncovered the Awan story. They know it's out there. They know the potential.
It's everywhere.
And they're calling a guy who's a burner, a Bernie guy, a right-wing conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
And the lazy prick that works for the Washington Post, all he did was plagiarize the CNN story that said the exact same thing. It might have been word for word. I was too, just bored to even check. But
they do it all the time. They do it all the time.
I tweeted at him. I said, you lazy prick. Not only do you get the story wrong, but you plagiarize CNN getting it wrong. Way to go, WAPO. Thank you.
Yeah, I saw what the Trump connection to Seth Rich was. By the way, there was some type of lawsuit. Now they're suing Fox News for, and somehow Trump may have been involved in the story. I mean, here's the thing, and they just it's such a distraction, and there's an ex-employee of the DNC. He was murdered. It's an unsolved murder, and one of my trolls, a troll I know from way back, and I actually enjoy communicating with him because he actually gives information, but. He had Seth Rich's brother has a GoFundMe page to help with the investigation, and he's I forget how much he's trying to raise. He raised like $30,000 so far. And I'm like, isn't this what the DC police and the FBI are supposed to do? You need $30,000 for an investigation? Like, why wouldn't you just be asking the police? And I haven't heard a word from the investigation. Has Debbie Wasserman Schultz spoken since Imran's been arrested?
Oh, fuck no.
Does anyone know where she is?
She has gone to ground. No, but we spotted Skippy down in so I told George and Jason, I said, Skippy's in Florida, keep your head on a swivel. Because that little, another rat, and, he's, he pops up in Florida when George Webb and Jason are down there. But, he was on his cross-country little trip doing God knows what to God knows who. And, tweeting, at Trump the whole way. It's like, Podesta, you are so over, dude. I mean, you and oh my God! And I have to mention this. Did you see Hillary's commercial for mayor of New York City?
Well, I saw somebody was tweeting out the Twitter page, and it only had 3 tweets. So, and it was started in April. So I kind of thought it was a joke. She actually did a commercial recently.
Oh my God, it's on. And I'll send you that link and probably repost it again. I'm slipping here. I gotta put my hour of the time link into the traffic report. But no, if you follow the link, and I forget what exact site it was. I think it was Gateway Pundit. But her voice, either they have electronically, recreated her voice, but it's a bullshit political commercial talking about Trump and blah blah blah, and how unfair the problems, and they show Trump, a Trump sign, the problems in the world, and just
it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me if she runs for mayor. She needs to be in the spotlight. She's not just going to go away. They want her out there. She'll win mayor of New York. She wouldn't even have to campaign for it. But it seems to be their strategy, and being from Philadelphia and seeing what they're doing in the city and allowing the quote unquote resistance to march whenever they damn well feel like it. I think the strategy is to control the cities because they know they can't control anywhere else. If you look at the map, it's just completely red, obviously. But so as long as they control the cities, they keep the focus on the cities. They have these marches. They get lots of publicity. It'll give the impression that there's this movement, and there's this for whatever they want to call it, and then they can then if they rig the polls, it won't look so bad.
Well, and I'm the eternal optimist, but I mean, just hearing her voice and seeing that political bullshit already put together when they're not sure if she's going to be walking around, in time to do this or free, at liberty, like not in prison. And they're just forging right ahead. And I would hope after everything that's transpired that she couldn't get elected dog catcher in Bayonne, New Jersey. But that's just me.
Oh, come on. She'd win. She'd win mayor of New York in a landslide.
Well, then we have a lot of work to do, Howie, and you need to make a lot more signs.
Oh, I'll go. I can get up. I can get up to New York. I think this is the guy's name. Did you see Steve King this week? I think his name's Steve King.
Yes,
Congressman King.
Yes, I did.
Wow.
Yes,
Oh, if people, you please post that to the traffic report. He gave just a very impassioned speech against all the crimes of Hillary Clinton that need to be investigated, and it's about time somebody spoke up. I wasn't too familiar with the guy. I'm more familiar with the people on the House Oversight Committee. Trey Gowdy, Jim Jordan. Well, it used to be Jason Chaffetz. So, I mean, he crawled under a rock. I had a lot of high hopes for the House Oversight Committee because last year, particularly when with Benghazi, Hillary's server, Stone Tier, Paul Gambetta. I mean, they were doing extraordinary work, and it was must-see TV. And for some reason, they've been rendered feckless. Jim Jordan's still out there. Trey Gowdy's still out there, but they seem to have, Jason Chaffetz already said that he's not going to run again. So
yeah, they were seriously compromised, and then they were probably compromised before this all happened. But when they start to try to act like they're going to do the right thing, then it's like, oh, do you remember these? We got these pictures, and we got this transaction, and we gave you this money. And I mean, They're just so compromised. And Nunez was the other one. Boy, he had it. Boy, he went to the White House, but man, he disappeared like, a UFO off radar. Boof, he was gone. So these guys are. I
think when you make it up to senator, that's a different ball game. But some of these reps, they think they're going to come in, they're the do-gooders, and they start doing good. And I think somebody taps them on the shoulder and whispers in their ear, "Yo, guys." Take it easy, or bad things will happen.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, they're all of the above. I mean, this system has been operating since the 1500s. It's been very effective. It's brainwashed about 200 million people in this country, so it's very effective. And there's much work to do, but they didn't, in the 1500s, and they had quite a plan. It went right through. World War I, World War II, everything up until this date, basically. But they really didn't factor in the internet, and that's how all, the best laid plans of mice and men often go astray. Robert Burns, Scottish poet.
They must have. I mean, they rolled it out slowly. We were talking about Bill Cooper. He said his thing was that the government is always 50 years ahead of us.
What always gets them, Howie, is their hubris. And
I guess that's what it is.
Yeah, and they really want to believe that the population is just so subhuman and stupid that they could give them, the solution to the Kennedy assassination, and they're not wrong. With a certain percentage of the population, you could print that up and leave it on their doorstep, and they wouldn't even read it. They'd use it, for firewood. I
guess what they don't factor in is that, and now that I'm always going to call it Pizzagate, and obviously it's Pedogate, but Pizzagate has now been around for 9 months, which is way past the life cycle of a quote unquote conspiracy theory, or people, like that. People would move on by now. They get out and they tweet about it. They'd, raise their voices. They'd expose it, and then it would die off. But what they're realizing is, with when it comes to the children, it's not dying off. I'm not sure how much stronger it's gotten, but it's definitely steady, and new information comes out every single day. So I think that they're looking at the Pizzagate community, the pedogate community, and they realize that they have a problem, because in their model, it's supposed to say, all right, this is supposed to be going away soon, especially like summertime. People are supposed to be down the shore on vacation, but they're not, and they're obviously monitoring it. So they're definitely concerned about it. They would have to be that it's not going anywhere.
The other thing that they always underestimate is the capacity for good in the average human being, because that can overcome lack of education. It can overcome poor economic surroundings, and just most normal human beings want to do good and honor children.
But they don't see that, because they're never around those people. They'll if they were able to know that, or listen to the show, they'd be like, what the hell are these guys doing? Why are they doing this? Why does Honeybee make these videos? And why does everybody do
float
what
like
they
a butterfly,
do?
sting like a bee? I love her.
Yeah, why? Who are these? Like they can't. We don't factor into their model, because they don't know. They don't know who we are.
Right, and that's their disadvantage. They've been so,
right.
And we talked about that too. Groomed, prep schools, Harvard.
Right.
They just can't relate to normal working stiffs who care about children more than they care about their own self. And like parents, how do they? And those families are so screwed up. They don't have the bonds that happen in a normal family, like a good Irish family from Boston. They'll lay down their life, or a good Jewish family from Philadelphia. Boy, you mess with my family, you got to have a problem. And they don't understand that. Because their families they'll throw them they eat their young. They're
exactly.
Probably literally. I wish they'd have ate George W. Bush, but that would have saved us a lot of problems.
It's definitely, I look at it as it's a war. Right now it's a war of, it's an information war. But I think in order to really, stop this, it's a different type of war, may need to be waged.
Well, we're going to do it if it hair lips the president. I hope it doesn't. God bless you, Donald J. And I think we're about out of time. Next week now you know what a rat line is. We've identified the rats.
Thursday
we're gonna talk about the corporations and countries that are running a rat line right now for the U.S. government with the approval of Debbie Wasserman Schultz. One of the chief rats. You better find a hole.
I do not like that woman.
Jason said today on CrowdStreet, the first thing I want to ask her is, what's up with your hair?
All right. Perfect way to end.
Love you, Howie. You're beautiful.
All right. I will see you Thursday.
Thank you, everybody, for listening.